Some fighters are born into boxing, shaped early by gyms, programs, and expectations that decide their future long before they understand the cost. Others arrive later, after life has already tested them in quieter ways. Where nothing is promised and everything is earned. Fabio Wardley belongs firmly to the second group.
And Wardley, the way he put the finish together, that was very impressive. And Fabio Wardley.
This is the story of Fabio Wardley, from amateur outsider to a heavyweight contender. He didn't come through an Olympic pipeline or a decorated amateur system like many of his contemporaries. His first steps into the sport came through white-collar boxing, a world usually dismissed as a novelty, where the lights are harsh, the crowds are close, and the consequences matter only to the men standing under them. For most, white-collar boxing is a brief experiment, a controlled flirtation with danger before returning to ordinary life. For Wardley, it exposed something permanent. When pressure arrived, he didn't search for safety. He settled into it.
He's an amazing guy. When I signed the musical, I never had no management experience, nothing. I didn't want to sign no fight, but he came and sparred. Just the way he moved and the way he was pouncing around the ring like a fucking panther. I was like, you know what? There's something about this guy.
Those early nights weren't about trophies or recognition. They were about nerve, about standing across from another man and discovering which instincts stayed intact when fear tried to interfere.
One thing I do know how to do is win fights. Dig deep, find a bit of heart, bite down in that gum shield and find a way to win, and that's one thing I had to do tonight.
What Wardley found wasn't refinement, but resolve.
There's unknown with any in the past, and there's so much time in the round here.
And at heavyweight, resolve has always been a weapon.
Step in the rain, feel the fire in my soul. Every single hit taking its toll. Going for the crown.
When he turned professional, he didn't look like a finished product. He looked like an unanswered question. His timing was raw, his movement unfinished. But there was already a calm beneath pressure that made opponents uneasy even when they were doing everything right.
All sorts of heavyweight. Losing virtually every single round.
That unease is where the comparisons to Deontay Wilder began. Not because their styles matched, but because their fights told the same story.
They say these guys have to be perfect. They have to be perfect. For 12 rounds, I only have to be perfect for 2 seconds, and each and every time I proved that.
You can be great for 12 rounds, but only have to be great for 1 second and land on you when it's all over.
What do you make of this Deontay Wilder comparison? People are calling you the British Wilder. What do you make of that?
Yeah, it's from what, look, if you take it at base level from what he did and what he achieved, I'll take that. I'll take that.
Wilder showed the division that you could lose the script and still steal the ending. Just like that, and the rest was history. Wardley's power may not possess that single fight-ending concussive thunder like Wilder. But he sure understood early that boxing rarely rewards who looks best. It rewards who stays dangerous.
I respect him, but also when I box him, I'm going to try and smash his face in.
The fight with Nathan Gorman was built on order and expectation. Gorman represented boxing's traditional structure, a fighter shaped by routine, pedigree, and the belief that discipline could keep danger at a manageable distance. The prize was the vacant British heavyweight title, a piece of domestic silverware waiting for an answer rather than a coronation.
Okay, lads, obey my command.
The fight followed the script many expected. Gorman boxed with control, moved well, managed distance, and built a lead while trusting that education and experience would eventually settle the night. Wardley accepted that picture without panic, stayed close, and allowed the rounds to pass as pressure slowly accumulated.
Instead of snapping the shot out, and the accuracy with that right uppercut, like I say, not following it up.
As the fight wore on, the space narrowed and the exchanges grew heavier.
He's never been in this position before.
Incredible stuff. He loaded up the shot, another one on the side of the head.
The second round, like I said, I fully woke up, and yeah, it's not the best habit that sometimes I need to get clocked a bit to ring the bells in my head and wake up a touch, but it all worked out for the best.
He goes on the attack once again, gets through.
Finding his time, and there seemed to be, as if Gorman was blinking, there may have been a...
Gorman was still standing and still trying to respond, but the certainty he relied on had begun to fade.
45 seconds, though, he's trying to set up that
Foot once again, bravely comes forward.
He's got to be disciplined here,
From the corner, the decision was made to protect him.
Left, and the towel comes in from the Gorman corner with around half a minute to go in the third round. And Fabio Wardley is crowned the British heavyweight champion.
Fabio Wardley walked away with the British heavyweight title, delivering a reminder that structure alone is never protection.
I thought Gorman started the fight really well, and that was the danger really, was, you know, we know he's a very good fighter, and if you let him get momentum in the fight, it's going to be very difficult to beat, and what Fabio did was stop that momentum.
Wardley was able to get Nathan Gorman up against the ropes, was able to sneak a right hand just through the guard, landed on the tip of the chin, and down went Nathan Gorman.
Wardley was no longer the white-collar curiosity. He was no longer the question. On that night, he became something far more permanent. Proof that conviction, when sustained under fire, can rewrite hierarchy.
If I have you hurt, if I have you going, I'm getting you out of there.
What I see happening is me getting the W. By what way? I can't really tell you. I mean, hopefully it'll be by knockout, but if not, I'm ready to go to 10 rounds.
They say the ring is a young man's game, that if you haven't laced him up by 20, you're already behind the clock. But Michael Polite Coffie doesn't punch a clock. He spent his life in much harder places than a square circle.
Undefeated Michael Coffie.
Born in the Bronx, hardened in the foster care system, he didn't find boxing in a gym. He found discipline in the U.S. Marine Corps. Armed with an impressive collection of hard-earned wins, he arrived not as a stepping stone, but as a necessary test for Fabio Wardley.
To me, the only thing I'm seeing is a W. I know it's going to be a good fight. I expect it to be, action-packed, difficult, but I'm ready to weather the storm.
For Michael Polite Coffie, the mission doesn't change, just the battlefield. From the opening exchanges, Polite tried to slow the rhythm, to make it messy, to turn potential into doubt. But Wardley refused to be dragged into hesitation. His shots carried weight. His pressure carried intent. It did not take long. A sharp combination broke through. And when Wardley found his range, the ending came quickly.
Coffie covering up on the ropes. Big attack this from Wardley as his supporters get behind him here. Fabio Wardley.
Adeleye, a heavyweight built of granite and bad intentions, carrying a record as unblemished as his conviction. Before the lights of Riyadh, he was the predator of the domestic circuit. 12 fights, 12 victories, and a trail of 11 broken men left in his wake. He was the Big D, a powerhouse who turned potential into violence with every snap of his lead hand.
David Adeleye!
At a red carpet press conference meant to promote another fight, a shove escalated into a brawl that pulled entourages into chaos.
We didn't get much in the way of what that dust-up was about after the fact, but clearly we've seen our first undercard fight of Fury and Ngannou with Fabio Wardley and apparently David Adeleye.
He waits in the bill, let's get it. Fabio Wardley, see the name on the belt. Man's been grafting, the hand I was dealt. Think you're a threat? Nah, you're playing yourself. This ain't no press conference, this is bad for your health. Clean finishes, KO artist. Step in this ring, you become just another target. They call me Big D.
In the quiet isolation of the gym, strength is shaped in silence. But under the glare of the public eye, silence disappears, and rivalries harden into something more permanent.
To go dim, your winning streak's looking awfully slim. Heavy hitters in the spotlight. Who wants to smoke? It's fight night. Two go in, but only one walks out. Yeah, this is what the hype's about.
This was never meant to be just another fight on the card. It was branded as the Battle of the Baddest, a collision designed to steal attention from the giants looming above.
This time round, we will see. This is a good fight. This is going to tell you what David Adelaye's about, and it's also going to tell you what Fabio's about.
I'm going to stop him. He doesn't even have the engine to go. The guy he gasses after a few rounds. He even got the engine. He's talking about all of that other stuff. We'll see.
When they finally met in the ring, that unresolved tension followed them inside. Adeleye fought with urgency and emotion, while Wardley fought with restraint and memory. He resisted the temptation to rush, allowed pressure to build, and trusted that the fight would reveal its ending in time.
Head and body out the way, comes of punches. He's the British champ. 3 rounds have been close. So good success there for Wardley, cracking right hand.
Wardley begins to find his distance, measuring his man with a lancing jab that begins to close Adelaye's eye. In the 7th round, the resistance broke, and the referee stepped in.
We're about to find out if he is. Stuck his tongue out to Fabio Wardley and says, come on, Wardley unloading as well. Both of them letting the punches go. Adeleye hanging on, clinging to his hopes. Wardley unloading with big punches. John Latham stopped it. David Adeleye pushes the referee away, furious with the decision.
The chaos that began outside the ring ended where it should have started.
Yeah, it was a good shot indeed. And he came for.
And when the lights dimmed, what remained was not the shove, not the shouting, not the pre-fight theater. It was growth.
Everyone tags this white collar name on me. I've dropped that, I've shredded that off, and look, I'm beating high-level amateurs over and over again. Like, I don't know what more you want from me to prove that I'm a serious contender in this game.
Nobody, yeah?
No one.
You're my first test, big boy.
No.
In the theater of heavyweights, there are 2 ways to build a man. You can forge him in the fire of the unpaid ranks, polished by Olympic gold and the sterile precision of the amateur elite. Or you can pull him from the dirt, a white-collar warrior with no pedigree but the violence in his hands. Frazer Clark was the blueprint. Fabio Wardley was the anomaly. For a year, they stalked one another through the headlines.
Way too soon for you. Wait, can you go serious? Yeah, I know, mate.
Two titans bound by a belt and a grudge that smelled of copper and sweat. The stage was set. London was waiting.
It's too soon for him. He's not ready for me. In the pro games, I know people make them very obvious comparisons between amateur and pro, and that's going to be the obvious narrative all the way through this. But I just think I'm too much for him.
Two titans, one ring. History waits for no one. Let's go. Steel in the eyes, fire in the soul.
Oh, that does sound
punches gonna take its toll. Walk into the square under the bright hot light. There's only one of us walking out tonight.
Fabio Wardley, a good learning fighter.
This is the battle, the clash of the kings. Hear the roar, the crowd out breeze. Heavy lies the crown, feel the weight of war. This is what we fighting for.
Easter Sunday, the O2 Arena becomes a cathedral of chaos. It wasn't a boxing match, it was an exorcism.
Are you ready for the
Clark found his rhythm. The jab was his weapon, snapping Wardley's head back, establishing the range like a master architect.
And through that right, there's been a good positive start this from Frazer Clark. His fundamentals, but they're working well.
Wardley, his face a mask of crimson, nose shattered like glass, refused to fall.
This is turning into a terrific fight. About got through with it. Clark came back with a couple.
Clark, the scholar of the sweet science, found himself in a classroom of pain. When the right hand landed in the fifth, the Olympian tasted the canvas. Frazer Clark, the man of 1,000 amateur bouts, suddenly felt the world tilt. For the first time, the scholar was staring at the floor, forced to swallow the bitter truth of Wardley's raw, unrefined power.
I think it's a mistake on my part. You know, there's a way to move around the ring. You know, we did across the legs, not holding my shape, and that's what happens. You know, you pay the price.
But he rose with the spirit of a man who had waited a lifetime for this moment.
Looking for it.
Round 7 was a moment of madness. Clark got a point deducted for low blow. In a fight this close, every error is a ghost that will haunt the final cards.
Stand back, quicker fight. Kids, keep stepping, time it. Keep walking.
Frazer Clark, so underneath the eye.
For 36 minutes, they traded pieces of their souls. When the final bell tolled, the air left the room.
113 to 113.
A draw. A stalemate. A masterpiece painted in blood that left the world demanding a second coat.
He deserves a rematch. It deserves to be a clearer one. A lot of people will ask for it, and I don't think I'll be happy with my career moving on from that draw and just running away from it. So we can run it back.
Both men kept their unbeaten records. Setting the stage for one of the most anticipated rematches in British boxing history.
Got to see that again. You know, you can't argue with it with a draw.
Fabio, the levels of courage that man has.
I guess they've got to run it back, man. I'm excited that they can run it back.
Was the draw a fair result?
I think so.
Riyadh, October. The heat of the desert was nothing compared to the cold intent in Fabio Wardley's eyes. This time, there would be no 12-round epic, no poetic struggle.
Yo,
The bell is about to sound. Get ready for the main event now. Wardley versus Clark, a showdown tonight. Two titans colliding, ready to ignite. Gloves up, eyes locked, ain't no backing down. Best in the biz, aiming for the crown. Hear the crowd roar, feel the bass drop low. This ain't just a fight, it's a lyrical.
Clark stepped into the ring looking for a chess match. Wardley brought a sledgehammer. 2 minutes. That's all history required. A looping right hand, born of pure malice, collided with Clark's jaw. In 148 seconds. The unfinished business was finished with terrifying surgical cruelty.
War by name! War by name! Biggest stage in boxing, Riyadh season. Heavyweight champion, Fabio Wardley!
The lights of the Kingdom Arena dimmed, leaving only the wreckage of a rivalry. Wardley stands as the king of the mountain, a man who proved that sometimes raw power trumps the textbook. Clark remains the fallen soldier, carrying the physical and mental scars of a night where the science failed him. They say boxing is the art of hitting without being hit. But between Wardley and Clark, it was something more primal. It was the story of two men who gave everything in London, only for one to take everything in Arabia.
And down goes Clark! Shoot
They say every city has a heartbeat, but tonight, Ipswich has a fever. 20,000 souls gathered in the rain, soaked to the bone, waiting for a native sun to touch the stars. Across the world came the shadow. Justis Huni, a man who speaks the language of the amateurs. A dialect of rhythm, angles, and superior IQ.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner. We haven't seen Fabio for a long time.
He wasn't supposed to be here. He was the late guest who intended to steal the feast.
I took this fight on 6 weeks' notice, and I'm here now. You know, the hard work is done. Time to go out there and have some fun and show this side of the world what I'm about.
For 9 rounds, the poem was being written by the visitor. Huni's hands were a puzzle Wardley couldn't solve.
So leans into that left hook.
The Australian was cruising, landing nearly 3 times the power.
There with his hands low.
Justis. Huni, but I like the way
Huni is fluid, a ghost in the rain, until Wardley lands a right hand that buckles the Australian's knees. A violent warning. The technician is in a lion's den.
For every round, rather, Wardley's dangerous. With Frazer Clark, Justis Huni. Through the...
Huni takes over. He's cruising, snapping Wardley's head back with a 46% accuracy rate.
His feet. Huni's landing more here. And for me, he's winning this fight.
That if Wardley was to win this, he may do it coming.
The hometown hero looks outclassed, drowning in a masterclass of amateur pedigree.
Fight so bad. Jabbing low to the chest, but throwing that right hand over the top.
He's got you playing his game, did he?
Wardley was gasping for air. His face was a map of Huni's dominance. On every scorecard, the dream is dying.
Jab right on it. Maybe Miller out. Justis Huni needs to find something. Again, good shot from Huni. He's hurt it. Body shot back from Wardley, but he just eats up another.
Huni is landing triple the power shots, and the upset feels inevitable.
Making Wardley miss, making him take, and that's making Wardley. They know he's winning.
1 minute, 42 seconds left. Huni closes in for the kill. Then the right hand from hell detonates. One punch to erase 9 rounds of failure. Wardley didn't just change the dynamics of the game. He shattered the inevitability of defeat with one right hand from hell.
Thought Justis boxed so well, he beat him up in nearly every round, was battering him, and Fabio's so game, so tough, he never gives up.
Every round I thought, it was last that knockout, bang. Come on, Woodley!
Joseph Parker, the former world champion, a veteran of battles with unified kings, a fighter in the form of his life after a 6-fight win streak that included dominant victories over Deontay Wilder and Zhilei Zhang. The narrative was clear, and the odds were stacked. The young power puncher against the experienced, technically superior former champion.
But obviously I'm backing Parker.
Joseph Parker has fought, in front of 80,000 people against Anthony Joshua. He's been in some of the, the biggest fights in the division throughout his career, fought against top names, time and again. So I think that he's got a very good chance to win that fight. I really like that.
Say Wardley, man. I want to say Wardley. He got a punch, man. One thing about it, he can be getting beat up the whole fight and then land something and it'd be over. So
the bookies favored Parker, seeing Wardley as a step too far, a necessary risk for greater rewards. One man risking his mandatory position for the WBO title.
Is it the right fight for Fabio? Well, I think Joe Parker wins it.
The other risking everything for the chance of a lifetime.
If risk over gain, if he beats Parker, what's the gain?
I think you'll be surprised tomorrow. Joe can punch hard, and don't forget, there's one thing about Joe Parker. He's got a granite chin. He's been put down. He gets bounces by a lot harder hitters than Fabio Wardley. Don't forget.
Every time he steps up, they said, "Oh, he's too far, bridge too far." Every time he's come up trump, and I don't believe anything changes tomorrow night.
Fabio Wardley knockout.
As always.
As always, exactly.
The decision stirred quiet doubt. Even as the favorite, Parker stepped back into the fire with a WBO path waiting behind him against undisputed king Alexander Usyk, whose last defeat was against Daniel Dubois. The lesson of Joe Joyce still lingered. A reminder that heavyweight boxing.
It's going to be drama and it's going to be entertaining. One way or the other. Whether you back Joe, whether you back me, whether you back his experience, whether you back my power, one way or the other, something dramatic is going to happen on that night.
And what about Fabio's weakness?
His weakness? I'll show you.
There's my top. Atmosphere here.
The talking stopped, and the war began.
The first heavy shot, and how will they react?
From the first round, it was pure, unadulterated chaos.
Steps over Deontay Wilder, Zhilei Zhang. What a combination they made. That was a very good opening round there for Parker. He reacts.
Forget caution. This was a battle of wills. Both men landing colossal shots that would have felled lesser heavyweights.
Catch him with a knuckle of the golden
Parker, with his sharp jab and experience, began to build an early lead on the scorecards, rocking Wardley multiple times through the middle rounds. The story of the fight became the story of resilience. Parker was winning the rounds, using his supreme boxing skills. But Wardley never stopped hunting for the one defining punch, a punch he always knew he possessed. As the championship rounds approached, the momentum began to shift. In round 10, the intensity of the fight grew even much stronger, with both fighters throwing their best shots.
How far can Fabio Wardley go? What level? Drop down in the 10th round. Steps into the 10th.
The arena erupted. Then, in the 11th round, the inevitable arrived.
His first fight was the best I've ever heard about that.
A huge right hand from Wardley found its mark, sending shockwaves through Parker's defense.
Weight division that we wanted.
The New Zealander retreated to the ropes, dazed and unable to defend himself as Wardley poured on the pressure.
This is the opportunity. He's got a hold. He's got grab hold of. He's got grab hold of Fabio Wardley.
Wardley's going to slow down here. Take your shots. You've got him going here.
Nothing back from Parker. Howard Foster's going to step in any second. He gets one hook off. But Wardley now.
The referee intervened, halting the contest at 1:54 of the round. Wardley had done it. A stunning come-from-behind TKO victory, securing the WBO interim heavyweight title.
Parker landed a lot more shots. He was ahead on the card, but that's Fabio. Fabio has that punching power, man.
Fabio's always, he's like the Deontay Wilder of the UK, man. He always has that equal head down the stretch.
The fairy tale is over. The reality has arrived. But in this division, heavy is the head, and heavier is the hand that comes to take it.
Fabio Wardley did amazing for himself and his family, and I fucking called it from day one. Fabio wins it.
You know, and he's showing it to Red. He's the best heavyweight in the world at the minute, I think, in my opinion. Yeah.
Even if many argued the stoppage came too soon, Fabio Wardley has never been wired for retreat. His heart has carried him through storms the scorecards could not measure, and time and again, he has rewritten endings that seemed already decided.
I told everyone before this started, I ain't losing today. This belt will be mine. I'm going to take it, and I did everything I said I'd do.